Hello, Riftbounders! Welcome to another VOD review of a Kaisa versus Viktor best of 3. So this is another VOD I took from the Thursday Night Fight weekly, and this is another one of the losses that I would like to go over. Normally, Kaisa has a pretty good matchup into Viktor, but in this best 3, I actually lost 2-0. So I did not play very well. And I guess the point of this is to go and see what exactly I did wrong. So let's get started. We got double falling star, hopeful, and a stupefy. Now, one thing I know is that Viktor, the yellow Viktor, is a great target for falling star stupefy. So I think because I don't actually know if I'm going first or second, but I feel like regardless, I want to mulligan the falling star and the hopeful just so I can get a turn 1 drop. So I believe that is what I do here. I get rid of the falling star and the hopeful, and we get a student and a sentry, which is, I guess it's okay because we now have a 2-drop. Unfortunately, we don't need both. It would be probably best if we just got the student and not the sentry. Probably something else would have been nice. And it does look like I am going second. So my opponent turn 1 plays a recruit, passes it over to me. I draw into a time warp, and I actually drop. I do not draw into a time warp. I draw into a Yordle, which plays. I play that into the time warp, mainly because Yordle is 3 runes, so I won't have any floating up. Though this does indicate to my opponent that, I don't have a Hextech Ray to deny them the first point. Even then, like, Hextech Raying a recruit does not feel super good, so, just got full value with my Yordle. My opponent plays 4, gets the Faithful and 2 tokens, and now I am looking into a swarm of dudes. So, I guess in this case, what I could do is I could send Yordle to War Camp. That way my Kaisa gets a chance to go to Reaver's Row. But yeah, I think that has to be the play here because my Kaisa, I don't have a retreat, so would like to use Reaver's Row, the effect, if I can. So another option is I could just not go in with the Yordle because I know if I go in with the Yordle, I can get traded out by 2 recruits. So it's not great. But I think in these kind of matchups, you really don't want to go behind in points too much. I do have the time warp though, which means I could come back from a point deficit. But yeah, let's see what happens. I send in the recruit. And at this point, I think I'm contemplating whether to accelerate Kaisa in. And I think I do. I feel like this is probably my biggest mistake of this game because I accelerate Kaisa in because I'm thinking, oh, I'm on Reaver's Row, I'll be protected. But my Kaisa can still get targeted by things like Hidden Blade and whatnot, so it's not really that useful to accelerate it in. I was thinking, oh, I go to 2, but I think there's 2 major things here. The first thing is I send Kaisa in, it's now able to be targeted by so many more spells, even though I do have the Reaver's Row. And then the second thing is I deramp. I deramp 1 rune, which is bad because I have a time warp in hand. And I feel like if I want to play around this time warp, I want to recycle the minimum amount of runes possible. So I think the correct play here was, and look at that, I draw into a retreat. So I get punished by accelerating my Kaisa pretty much immediately. Because if I just played the Kaisa in base, or I could have just played Ravenbloom and a Sentry in base, and then I would have drawn the retreat next turn, and I could have used the retreat to play around the Kaisa. So because my deck only runs 1 copy of Kaisa, sending it in accelerated into Reavers is a big risk. Because what happens here is I actually do get Hidden Bladed, my Kaisa dies, and now I have a huge hand, in which in normal cases a huge hand is great, right? You can never be sad with having all these options. But the issue is because I deramp the rune, I have a huge hand, and I can do nothing with it. Because next turn I go to 6, and I am pretty limited in what I can do. So yeah, my opponent sends the 2 recruits there. I get cleared out by the 4 might to my 3, and they go to 3 points, and then they play a Vanguard Captain. Let's see, do they play anything else? I think they just, Yeah, they play a captain because it gets the Legion off of the Hidden Blade. And now I'm faced against a really menacing board. I think basically if I do not get an Acathian Rain in the next turn, I just lose this game. I think the Kaisa coming out on turn 2 accelerated actually just lost me this game. I think it would have been better to just play the Student and the Sentry because the bodies are, despite the bodies being rather small, I think it's fine to go against Viktor because Viktor's bodies are going to be even smaller normally. So yeah, now I'm at turn 6. I'm kind of forced to just play some bodies down, and I guess the other option is I could Falling Star 2 units, the 2-drop and the 3-drop, and that's pretty much all I can do. And now I have all these retreats, which are basically useless. I basically, yeah, if I just had my Kaisa, I would be in a good spot here. So I play 2, I play the Sentry, I play the Student, and do I do anything else? I just pass. I don't even Falling Star. I think that might even be another mistake compounded on top because now I'm just gonna get consistently swarmed. The reason I don't play the Falling Star is because I'm kind of greeting it for the yellow Viktor. But at this point, I don't even think it matters because if the yellow Viktor comes out, like there's just too many units. My opponent goes to 5. They send their units back. I can go back to my turn. I draw into a cleave, which is useless. I go to 4. And I literally have nothing, so I just stupefy the captain just to see what I can draw. And I draw into a Void Seeker, which is also not great because now I have all these spells. And if I want to use them, I will have to burn a lot of runes for recycle. I think like in this case, I have 8 runes up. If I was at, I guess like right now, the only thing I could do is pray I can go to 10 runes and then maybe do like a cheesy time warp play. But I don't think my opponent's going to let me because at this point, they just clear, they send a unit, I hit it with a Void Seeker because I have nothing else. And then, but they're still going to clear my battlefield. I have no units on board. And they send the Sprite Mother, they clear out, or they push back my, or they don't even push back my Raven Bloom. I stupefy it. But they'll send enough eventually. And they send the Sprite and a what is it called? A Recruit. They play a second Sprite Mother, try to kill the Raven Bloom, but I instead Hextech Ray it, and my Raven Bloom goes up to 5. And I think that's it for their turn. And like because I had to consume some recycle runes that turn, now going into my turn, I only have 9. So because I didn't retreat the Student, I'm at 9, and I can't time warp. I think maybe thinking at this step, maybe like once the second Sprite Mother comes out, instead of burning a rune, I should have just retreated my Student because at least on my turn, I'd go to 5 because I can send my Raven Bloom back in, maybe to War Camp. My opponent is tapped out, and then I could time warp one more turn, go to 6, and then pray I hit like a Rain or something. I don't know. I don't think Rain even saves me. I think, yeah, if I could time warp this turn, I'd go to 6, and then next turn I could drop down some units. But I'm pretty sure my opponent has the grand stratagem here. So yeah, I basically just cast the Falling Star, killed the Sprite Mothers. I stack the left side. I'm at 5 points. My opponent's at 7. They don't even have the stratagem. They have the Watcher. So I think no matter what, I probably would have lost this game. And it all came down to my turn 2 play where I accelerated the Kaisa in. I think that was pretty bad. I should have just played the 2 units instead of accelerating Kaisa, thinking back. And then we go to game 2. I decide to sub out some smoke screens. Put in a, do I even put in an extra time warp? I don't really know. But I do put in a Sprite Mother into my deck because it is quite good against the aggro matchups. And I actually get super outplayed by my opponent here because usually when you go turn 2 or when you're going first as Kaisa, you want to play Arena's Greatest. And that's what I do here. Because I lost the first one, I can go first on the second one. And my opponent predicts that, and they play their own Arena's Greatest, which basically means that let's say I do play a unit turn 1, and turn 2 I send it in. Then I'm at 3 points, so I'm actually at odd points, which if my opponent did not have the play the arena's greatest there, I would be at even points, and that would let me go like 2-2-2. But they basically predicted my arenas, played their own arenas, and now we're starting at even points. So it's going to be a short game, but the issue is I won't have an advantage going first anymore. So let's take a look at what I mulligan. I have the retreat, I have the hopeful, I have the hex ray, I have the rain. So I think here I feel like it's just mulligan the hopeful and the retreat. Even though the retreat is really good for Kaisa, I think you really want to keep the rain in the Viktor matchup. And the Hexic Ray is also just great for denying a point. So what do I get rid of here? I get rid of those two. Yep, that makes sense. And I draw into a Watcher and a Smokescreen. And oh, this is really sad because on my turn 1 play, I did not get any 2-drops. So I actually just pass, which is terrible, right? Like, I mean, this is the turn where I need to rush. I need to rush down my opponent before they can rush me down. But I basically pass this, and I'm starting at a pretty big disadvantage. And my opponent basically plays 2 cards. So Viktor going second is actually not too bad because you can get 2 units out if you play a 2-drop, and they're basically going to go to 4 points next turn. So I start my turn. Unfortunately, I don't draw any units. So my only viable play here is to just play the Kaisa, which feels pretty bad because my opponent's going to go to 4. So I go play the Kaisa. The other option is I leave all of it up and I Hex Ray, or maybe I Smokescreen something and then see if I draw a unit. Or not Smokescreen. If I Stupefy one of their units, maybe I can draw like a 2-drop. But I play it safe. I just play the Kaisa unaccelerated. My opponent goes to 4. And right off the bat, I'm already losing this game. They have the Viktor in base. I don't have Falling Star. I do have the Stupefy. And they play a hidden card. Very likely Hidden Blade here. Lucky for me, I do draw the Falling Star. This is a bit of a top deck. So what do I do here? I believe I definitely want to kill the Viktor this turn. And I want to make sure I get the draw off of Kaisa. So the going into the left battlefield is a bit of a risk because I could get hidden bladed onto my Kaisa. So my best option is to send Kaisa to the right, draw 1, and see what I get. And I believe that's what I do. Yep. We send it to the right, get a point, and we draw. My opponent's tapped out. I get a sentry, which is rather underwhelming, I would say. I much prefer maybe like a Darius or something else. And now I'm faced with the decision to Falling Star. I Stupefied the Viktor first. I draw into a cleave. I Falling Star the Viktor and the Recruit in base. I don't hit the Soaring Scout because I don't want my opponent to ramp, but it's fine because my opponent flips the Hidden Blade, kills the Scout just so they get a Recruit. And we're at a state where they drew 2 cards, but they only have 1 Recruit in base, which is not the worst. It's not the worst. The downside is I am at an odd points interval, so it's going to be a little tricky for me to get to 8 in this game. So back to my opponent's turn. They get a point. They go to 5. They play the Soaring Scout on it, in addition to a Vanguard Captain in base, and then they play a Recruit. So they started swarming up again. And at this point, if I play a Cathian Rain, I can kill everything except for a 1-drop. So I believe the other option is I could play the Yordle and then fish for something, but I think the Rain is the best move here, just because my opponent has so many tokens, and I can basically clear out most of them with the Rain. So let's take a look. So I play the Rain. What? I don't Rain here? Hold on. Why did I play the why did I play the Yordle? Because let's see, what I would do is I'd Rain. I'd probably kill off all the units on the left battlefield, the Vanguard Captain, and the 2 recruits. and my opponent would be left with 1 recruit in base. I'd send the sentry in to the left to go to 5, and then my opponent is forced on their turn to send their recruit to the right side because at best they could trade with my sentry. I don't know, why did I play the Yordle here? Am I greeding rain? There's no reason to greed the rain here, I think. I think the reason I'm greeting the rain is because I'm thinking I can go into sentry on the left with a cleave and then get 2 immediately. But I don't think this is right. I think yes, I do get a 2-for-1 with the cleave, but the issue is my opponent is really close to my opponent's at 5 and they could go to 7, and if they stratagem, I guess they could basically win. But I guess maybe my thought process here is that, okay, I'll clear out the battlefields, and next turn when my opponent floods the board, I'll rain, and then that way the rain off will take precedent over the stratagem, so I don't need to worry about the stratagem. But I'm actually not sure if this is the correct play, so I do the cleave onto the sentry over here, and I go to 5. And then on my opponent's turn, they just clear my sentry out over here. I draw into a stupefy. And what's left? I hextech ray their recruit, allowing them to. But they just send another recruit here. I guess the point of this is that I want to hextech raid the Vanguard captain, so I'm forcing them to send the Vanguard captain in, so I can hextech raid again. But that also deramps me by 1, which I guess is fine. I still clear out most of their board, but because I didn't rain earlier, they go to 6 really easily. Yeah, if I played the rain here, they would at most go to, oh, they still go to 6. I guess the outcome is almost the same, but the issue is I deramped 1 instead of deramping 2. So they play 6, and then they drop a singularity. This kills my Kaisa and my Yordle. I think I still would have gotten singularity'd, I believe. So that doesn't change too much. And yeah, I'm in a pretty unfortunate spot here because they have 2 recruits. It's not worth raining, and all I have is a Watcher. So I think my only play here is to accelerate the Watcher in, clear the recruit. I go to 6. But then my opponent, because I'm out of runes, my opponent plays their own Watcher, clears me out, and then I feel like that's basically game. Yeah, they're at 6. I send the Watcher in. They go to 7, 8. Yep, that is game for this. I'm trying to think if the rain would, if I played rain here, if it would have changed anything, because I would rain everything. I guess the other thing I could have done is I could have rained everything except for the scout, and that would bring me down to 5 runes, and I'd go to 7 the next turn. So I'd kill everything except for the scout. I'd send my sentry in to trade for the scout, and my opponent would be stuck at 5, and I'd have no runes. And then on my opponent's turn, they would have no units, so they would be forced to maybe like singularity only on my Kaisa and play a recruit in base, which is something. And I would still have the Yordle in hand. So I think if I played the rain, I would have had a much better outcome. Let's see, this, how many runes did I spend on this turn? I spent 2 rays. Okay, so I only deramped by 1. Yeah, I'm thinking, because I think like because my opponent went to 6 here, I just lose the game next because they Watcher accelerate in. So if they were at 5, and let's assume I had no units on board, what would I do here? I guess I could like, the issue is if I wanted to defend against that Watcher, I would need to have my Watcher on a battlefield and be able to smokescreen. So I think something definitely went wrong earlier this game, where that led me into this pickle, because I think one big issue is I didn't have an early 2-drop. which had a big influence on my early game. And I was forced to play the Kaisa, and my opponent just got so many points ahead of me. So I think, to be honest, I think there wasn't as much I could have done in this game compared to the previous one. The previous one, I made a pretty horrendous misplay. So yeah, that was completely on me. And I believe because these two games were so fast, my opponent and I we decided to play another game, another third game, just for more practice. And I'll go through this one just for content, I guess. And this one I have a much better start. I believe I'm going first here, and my opponent plays um, the battlefield that gives you an extra rune. So they actually have a pretty good turn two because they would have 4 runes up. And what do I do here? Oh, actually, no, they go first. So they start off with 3 rune. No, wait, I go first. Sorry. I go first. All I have is a student. I waste 1 rune. My opponent has 4. They play a Yordle and a recruit. I play Kaisa on turn 2, and this time I'm being smart. I'm not accelerating the Kaisa. I send in the Raven Bloom. I'm looking at the top of my deck. I have Yordle and Hextech Ray. I probably should have done this before playing the Kaisa, because now, let's say there's something I really want to draw. I think I was playing the Kaisa eventually, so it doesn't really have too big an effect. I guess the other option is I could play Darius instead of Kaisa, but yeah, I took a look at both Hextech Ray and Yordle. They're both like pretty good actually. Do I get rid of both? What do I get rid of the Yordle and I get rid of the Ray? I'm actually not sure about that. I feel like in the Viktor matchup, the Ray is actually quite useful just to deny a point. Obviously, it's not as impactful when they have like 50 recruits up, but yeah. I leave 1 up. My opponent hits me with a Singularity onto my Kaisa and my student. And unfortunately, I do not have retreat, so Kaisa does die without getting any value. My opponent goes to 2 with those 2. And at this point, all I can play is, I can play. Can I play Darius Falling Star? I could. But the issue is playing the Falling Star is not super value here. I'd rather, because I have the Falling Star Stupefy, I'd rather save it for the Viktor. So I guess I need to trigger my Darius, so I trigger that. And I luck into another Stupefy. Okay. I feel like if I wanted to say, I guess I could still Falling Star just the Viktor later. So that is why I didn't play the Falling Star here. So I tap enough for the Darius. He goes in, gets the Conqueror. I go to 2. I pass it back. I have 1 up. My opponent plays a Call the Weak. Fortunately, that kills my Darius. And they move the recruit back. They call the weak. Wait, what happens here? Yeah, they just move the recruit back. They call the weak, play another recruit, and they leave. They're at 3. Both battlefields are up. All I have is Darius Poro. I believe I just play Darius Poro and send this in. I don't even know if sending Darius in here is a correct play, because I go to 3 points, which is not that useful. If I just played the Darius in base, I wouldn't be. I guess I'm still at risk of a Singularity, but at least like now I won't be at risk of Hidden Blade and maybe something else. Yeah, so I see a Falling Star and a Cleave, and what do I get rid of? I feel like I probably keep the Falling Star, right? Falling Star is too good. Nope, I get rid of both because I guess I actually do need kind of units here. I already have a Falling Star with Stupefy in hand, so I don't really need that Falling Star. I can see why. My opponent, I assume that is a Watcher. It comes out, kills the Darius. If only I had an extra rune. Yeah. Okay, now I know the Darius was definitely a misplay because it dies to Hidden Blade, it dies to Watcher. I mean, it could die to Grand Stratagem too. So yeah, getting that 1 point with Darius, another misplay. Man, just so many misplay after misplay. And my opponent goes to 4. They send a recruit over there. They send they play a hidden on the left side. Most likely the Hidden Blade. So now I believe all I do here is I clear the Watcher with the Falling Star and I send in the Poro to go to 4. So I go in with Poro and then I Falling Star and Hex. What is it? I Hextech. No, I Stupefy the Watcher. Falling Star for kill. I draw into a Sentry. I update my board. My opponent sends in a Recruit and a token. They send in a Recruit and leave a Sentry in base. And now I am at. I go to they play another hidden, probably another hidden blade. And now I'm at 5, and I have enough for Time Warp. So I could go in to 6, Time Warp, and then I win. So, yep, there it is. I go in, I get my opponent hidden blades, and then I Time Warp for 8 points. So this game, I think the main issue is I kind of wasted the Darius here. Like, obviously, I don't think it's as bad because I had the time. I was playing towards a Time Warp, so I kind of needed the point. But even if I play the Darius in base, right? If I play the Darius in base, I would be at 2 points. I'd be at 2 points. And then on the next turn, after my opponent plays some stuff, I could just send the Darius in after clearing the battlefields. And I'd go to 5 anyway. And then I just flood my back line and then Time Warp for the win later. So I think no matter what, that Darius there was a misplay. Like, obviously, it didn't matter because I won this game, but there's just no reason to go to 3 points with Darius and leave him at a battlefield. I think, yeah, just playing him in base. I think I was scared of the Singularity, but I don't know. I think, yeah, my opponent did have a Singularity in hand, so maybe they would have just Singularity'd me instead. But that means they wouldn't have played anything meaningful. Yeah. I think if you are trying to play around the Time Warp and you think the opponent won't have anything, getting that extra point is kind of worth. But it really depends on, like, what am I willing to sacrifice? I think the sacrificing the Darius there was okay because I had more units in hand. But if I had no more units, I think it's too risky to go get that extra point. So yeah, that's this best of 3. Even though it's not a true best of 3 because I lost the first 2 and I won our little practice game. But yeah, that's the Viktor versus Kaisa matchup. I would just say, I guess my takeaways is against Viktor, you want to play around because they are blue. You want to play around Watcher. You want to play around Singularities. You want to play around the Grand Stratagem. And obviously, they have the Shen. I know a lot of Victors are running Shen now to counter Watchers. So maybe it's not that worth to get Watchers. The Time Warp actually comes in quite clutch because usually they don't have that many minions on the field. So as long as you have a little bit of an army, you can just send them in, get the battlefields, Time Warp for 2 points, and you might be able to just win, like I did here in the third game. So yep, that's gonna be it for this one. Hope you learned something. And, thanks for watching.